I think within the right, meaning conservatives, libertarians, there's this allergy, again, like I mentioned, to seizing power and using it to crush your enemies. Can you speak to this? And I just love this quote so much. I want you to dive into that deeper, speak to it, and why this actually needs to be done.
So there's this, let's say, a conservative position that it's basically better to lose with your principles intact than fight by any means necessary and win. I don't agree with that. I think you actually, even if you do believe in that and you mean well, um, I think you actually do more harm, because what you're saying is because I don't want to compromise my sense of being principled, which actually might be even your that sense might even be misplaced. But even if you really believe that, like I as an individual don't want to compromise my principles, well, the whole suffers as a result of that. So you, the individual, can sleep safely or comfortably at night, knowing that you didn't do anything that made you feel kind of icky. But society, all of like the whole of society, is worse off as a result. And I like a topical example of this is as a journalist, I run into people who will say, so and so is so corrupt, and then they'll tell me this like story, this like scandal, and there's like, and they'll say like, so many people know about this, and I'll ask them, if so many people know about it, why don't they go on the record? And the answer is basically like they don't want to rock the boat. And I think there's a kind of similar dynamic there, that there are basically people who are not willing to kind of like take risks, who are not willing to fight at the same level as the enemy to preserve the way of life that they think is the correct one. And as a result of that, like everyone is worse off. So I've been trying. I'm actually going to be putting together something on making a kind of case for actually seizing endowments. I've written that we should actually do this, to take endowments from organizations like the Ford Foundation, because you make a case that like they're corrupt and that this is basically just like a big front for globalism and all that stuff. And I actually want to write a kind of like policy paper about this. But part of that will be, I guess, making a kind of a values-based or moral argument for why we should do this, which is kind of what I'm getting at in this roundabout way with the example of what I run into as a journalist. And that is, look, even if you do want to return to this kind of like classical republicanism, even if you did want to do that, the only way to get there is by a willingness to use power the way that FDR did. Like the swamp is not going to drain itself. The FBI is not going to reform itself. Like the NSA is not going to go away on its own. You're not going to pass a bill that's going to get rid of any of these agencies. Like this stuff is going to have to be done. I think in first part with a kind of executive who is the kind of executive that like the media thought Trump was, that he was this kind of like a Huey Long figure, which he wasn't, disappointingly for people like me. But you're not actually going to be able to get anything like the world that you want to live in unless you're willing to just engage in the world in the way that it actually is. So, which means abandoning your kind of sense of, well, it's okay to lose with grace and grit. I don't think it is. I have kids, so I think a lot about like the world that I'm going to leave behind.